And I didn't even know Jake Paul was fighting. So he's saying all this shit. I was in Italy. I didn't even know the guy was fighting. When Jake Paul lost to Fury, I haven't really paid attention to Jake Paul.
I have love for Jake too. I don't
Jake
know what to
Paul-
fight.
There's a lot of things that Dana and I agree on. There have been personal attacks, which he started. I will point that out. Calling my fights fake, hiring coaches for Ben Askren, bringing in the steroid accusation.
Jake Paul just dropped a bombshell after Dana White brutally shut him down on camera. Let's be real, Jake's been working hard to build his king of cringe reputation. From allegedly fixing a fight with Mike Tyson to rejecting Andrew Tate's offer, he's practically teaching a master class in how to look ridiculous. His antics have only fueled the controversy surrounding him.
And the only time I ever talk about Jake Paul is if I'm asked about him. He just brought him up.
I have a great
I
question.
wouldn't have brought him up, right?
This time, Dana didn't just call Jake out, he dissected his 4-year game plan with UFC-level precision, revealing moves so absurd they make reality TV seem genuine.
Do you think, with all the shit that I got going on and what we're doing, you think I'm thinking about Jake
No.
Paul?
No.
I'm not.
So what would one?
And I don't mean that in a way to shit on the
I know, he's making a lot of money. He's
It's
doing his
just the
thing.
truth.
Honestly, knowing Jake's team, they're probably scrambling to delete the footage faster than Jake avoids real opponents. So don't blink, you might miss the chaos.
We do in the UFC is the best in the world fight the best. That's what we do, you know? What Jake Paul and those guys do is completely different. And again, the kid's doing his thing. I'm not shitting on him. And listen, if smaller, older guys want to fight him, then they're doing their thing.
It all began when a leaked fight script exposed the so-called showdown, revealing every move is pre-planned, from Tyson's aggressive opening to Jake's cautious mid-round tactics, unraveling the entire setup.
Sometimes.
And he calls people out for attention.
Yeah.
When you call Alex is a superstar right now.
It wasn't just disappointing, it was insulting. Fans didn't pay to watch a poorly rehearsed play and wanted a real battle. Instead, they got a live-action farce wrapped in glitz and hype. Dana White never one to hold back, called it a disgrace, and honestly, who could argue with him? Let's not forget Dana's main beef with Jake Paul, the blueprint he follows for his fights. It's become almost predictable. Find an opponent who's older, smaller, or past their prime, then claim victory.
I always thought that Netflix was crazy not to get into live sports sooner than they did. Those guys truly have a global footprint. I think they're late to the game, but it was a big success.
The performance of the broadcast, did that give you pause to do business with Netflix at all?
I didn't think the event was a great event, but they needed to do that. They knew Mike Tyson was going to bring in big...
Tyron Woodley check. Anderson Silva check. Now Mike Tyson, a legend more known for his cannabis empire than his boxing days. Jake Paul isn't chasing real competition, he's chasing headlines. But what happens when he faces someone his own age and skill level? We already know the answer, he loses. Tommy Fury proved that when he defeated Jake in the ring.
I don't know. What do you guys think about it? Who gives a shit what I think? It's not my fight. I love Mike Tyson, you know, personally as a friend, and he's one of my favorite athletes of all time.
Then there's the cherry on top, Jake's callouts to Canelo Alvarez and Alex Pereira. Let's be real, these aren't challenges, they're clout chases. Everyone knows these fights will never happen, but the callouts keep Jake trending. Dana sees right through it, and so do the fans. They're tired of the gimmicks and repetitive formula. How many times can you play the same trick before people stop watching? Jake's strategy isn't evolving, and it's becoming painfully obvious. The frustration is growing.
You know, what did you expect? Seriously, when you stayed home and you turned on Netflix that night, we were like, holy I'm about to see the greatest live sporting event of all time.
Fans who once tuned in out of curiosity or amusement are now calling out Jake for faking his entire career. The gimmicks, scripted fights, and hollow theatrics are wearing thin. Even Dana, who typically reserves his sharpest criticism for USC rivals, can't stay quiet. He's calling Jake out for what he sees as a calculated scam, and for once, the fans seem to be on his side.
Put together a training camp and come in and, you know, I don't like to see guys fighting it. Be a 31-year age difference during that fight. Just, you guys know what I think of that.
Dana's latest barrage of criticism makes it crystal clear. He doesn't see Jake as a fighter, To Dana, Jake Paul is a marketer, a savvy showman who knows how to sell a fight but falls flat when it comes to actual fighting. Dana's called Jake's career a circus act, a spectacle built on gimmicks and carefully crafted theatrics, not skill or grit. While combat sports thrive on big personalities, Dana's biggest gripe is that Jake's approach is undermining the credibility of the very sport he claims to love, turning it into a sideshow rather than a true contest.
I mean, all the people that are, there's a lot of, in Portnoy went out and said that it was the greatest con job of all time.
The UFC is built on one core principle: the best fight the best. Whether it's Khabib Nurmagomedov cementing his legacy or Amanda Nunes dominating her division, Dana White has always emphasized real competition over showmanship. This is where Jake Paul's entertainment-first strategy stands out like a sore thumb. Dana openly contrasts the UFC's ethos with Jake's tactics, pointing out that Jake's matchmaking is more about headlines than true challenges. Opponents like Tyron Woodley and Anderson Silva were once great, but by the time they faced Jake, they were far removed from their prime. Dana sees this as a clear strategy to pad Jake's record while avoiding real risks. Then there's the reality TV comparison.
An older guy who's smaller than you.
Great. What could he?
It's the same blueprint.
So what could he do where he could get in the same room with you?
It's the same blueprint.
Well, I don't think the
fight.
UFC makes that much money if someone fights Jake Paul.
I'm asking Dana White.
Yeah,
with
like it's
Jake.
just
So he's
like-
not fighting Alex.
Dana didn't hold back when he called Jake's career a scripted drama designed to go viral. The leaked script for Jake's fight against Mike Tyson only reinforced this, revealing every move, from Tyson's signature bob and weave to Jake's dramatic fifth-round comeback, was pre-planned. This wasn't a fight, it was a poorly executed play with stage directions. For Dana, it was the ultimate insult to a sport built on raw competition and genuine effort.
What we do in the UFC is the best in the world fight the best. That's what we do, What Jake Paul and those guys do is completely different. And again, the kid's doing his thing. I'm not shitting on him. And listen, if smaller, older guys want to fight him, then they're doing their thing.
The Tyson fight was a disaster on multiple levels. For starters, the fight script leaked on social media days before the event, revealing every pre-rehearsed move. Fans who tuned in expecting a clash of eras, a 57-year-old legend versus the self-proclaimed problem chilled, were left shaking their heads. Instead of a genuine battle, they got a spectacle that would have made pro wrestling blush. Tyson, who hadn't fought competitively in years, still managed to expose Jake's lack of skill, landing key moments that showcased just how outclassed Jake was. Even with Tyson's age and physical limitations, his dominance was undeniable.
Where his head's at in life in terms of what he wants to do.
Okay, but you didn't answer the question. Do you have any interest in it?
I don't know. I mean, Andrew has messaged me over the past few days, and
The backlash wasn't limited to fans. Dana White, already critical of Jake's career, doubled down, slamming the Tyson fight as a stain on boxing's fragile reputation. Dana's frustration wasn't just about the fight itself, but what it represented. Jake Paul's antics are a symptom of a larger issue: the erosion of authenticity in combat sports. When fights are reduced to viral moments and scripted drama, the hard work and sacrifice of real fighters are overshadowed, undermining the integrity of the sport.
He's not his own boss.
And two, he won't do it. He knows better.
The Tyson fight wasn't Jake's first controversy, but it marked a turning point. It revealed just how far he's willing to go to stay in the spotlight, even if it means sacrificing the trust of his audience. For Dana, it proved that Jake isn't interested in being a fighter. He's interested in being a brand. While that might work temporarily, it's not a sustainable strategy in a sport that demands respect, skill, and authenticity.
Let's talk now. Let's just fucking go.
Yo, but you know for a fact, me and Jake will travel to Romania. We will make this happen. We'll do it wherever you want, whatever conditions you want. 2 brothers, 1 cage.
As the fallout from the Tyson fight continues, one thing is clear: Jake Paul's approach to boxing is under more scrutiny than ever. The leaked script, social media outrage, and Dana White's scathing critique have painted a picture of a career built more on style than substance. Whether Jake can adapt and prove himself as a legitimate fighter remains to be seen, but for now, the shadow of the Tyson fight looms large. In the world of combat sports, shadows like that are easily shaken. Now, with the news of Alex Pereira versus Jake Paul, it sounds like another fever dream created for social media clicks. Dana White made it clear, this matchup is pure fantasy.
Pereira would
He's
kill
Alex
him.
Pierre.
Pereira would kill Jake Paul.
Pereira.
Who?
Alex.
Pereira.
Oh my God, exactly. It'd be murder.
You think
That's
that
what I
fight would
told
happen?
Jake
Well,
yesterday. Murder.
What else I was saying about Dana too is like the
But
boxing.
how's that fight possibly going
I-
to happen?
I
That's just
wonder
not going to happen.
The commission would even let that fight happen.
Alex Pereira isn't just another fighter. He's one of the most dangerous men in combat sports. With a kickboxing record of 33-7 and the distinction of being the only man to knock out Israel Adesanya, Pereira has proven himself on the world stage. Dana White didn't mince words, saying that if Jake ever stepped into the ring, whether MMA or boxing, with Pereira, it would be murder. His exact words, not mine.
Boxing. He's
He'd
talking
kick
about
his
boxing.
head to
Kill
another planet. It would be.
We talked about this. Jake calls people out that he knows that aren't gonna fight him, bro. Sometimes.
And he calls people out for attention.
Yeah.
When you call Alex is a superstar right now.
Jake, of course, doesn't see it that way. He thrives on calling out big names, fully aware these fights won't happen. Canelo Alvarez, Nate Diaz, Conor McGregor, now Alex Pereira. Jake's strategy isn't about seeking real challenges, it's about grabbing headlines. Meanwhile, Alex, fresh off his UFC 291 win over Jan Blachowicz on July 29, 2023, is at the peak of his stardom.
You think Alex Pereira is bigger than Jake Paul in the world today?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Naturally, Jake saw an opportunity by calling out Pereira, a fighter with striking skills far superior to most boxers, only highlights how calculated and hollow these challenges are. Let's be real, Jake's career has been built on cherry-picking opponents who lack either the experience, physicality, or both to pose a serious threat. Tyron Woodley, Anderson Silva, and Mike Tyson were all carefully chosen to inflate his resume without risking real damage.
You know, there's a lot of in Portnoy went out and said that it was the greatest con job of all time, and I mean, if you didn't think that that's the way the fight, I don't know what people expect.
Alex Pereira, however, is an entirely different breed. He's not just skill, he's terrifying. This is a man who lands punches like sledgehammers and dismantles opponents with precision. The absurdity of Jake even suggesting such a fight is almost laughable. It's like an amateur chess player challenging Magnus Carlsen and expecting to win. Dana's disdain for Jake's antics didn't stop there. He pointed out that when it comes to pay-per-view numbers, Pereira's draw far surpasses Jake's. Dana wasn't just making a vague statement, he specifically referenced Jake's recent fight with Nate Diaz on August 5, 2023, which reportedly underperformed in pay-per-view sales. Meanwhile, Pereira's fights consistently generate massive attention, particularly from hardcore fight fans. To Dana, this isn't even a comparison, it's a reminder of how far Jake has fallen in terms of relevance.
You know what? I'm trying so hard to not start internet beefs. I'm really trying not to.
You could say Jake and Logan, man.
Bro,
Don't worry about it.
No, I can't lie. Bro, I'm going through life. I'm trying to live peaceful now. I've got Fed agents in my house. Matrix is after me. I'm just trying to live peaceful.
Jake's playbook is clear. Manipulate the media, create drama, and keep the spotlight on himself. It's worked well so far, the cracks are beginning to show. Fans and insiders are starting to see through the exaggerated marketing tactics, and his call-outs are increasingly viewed as stunts rather than legitimate challenges. His claims about UFC involvement are met with skepticism, and even Dana White, no stranger to feuds and theatrics, seems exasperated by Jake's antics. Dana has called these actions desperate attempts to stay relevant in a world that's quickly moving on. His response, a classic Mick drop. I don't think about Jake Paul, he said repeatedly, driving home the point that Jake's attempts to bait him into a larger feud are falling flat. But beneath that dismissal lies a sharp rebuke of everything Jake represents, a fighter more interested in headlines than hard work, a marketer masquerading as an athlete. Dana doesn't just see Jake as a nuisance, he sees him as a symptom of a larger issue in combat sports, the rise of spectacle over substance.